Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 3 of my free beginner astrology course. My name is Nia and I'll be your astrologer today. So this week we are talking about the zodiac signs, the 12 energies, 12 archetypes that color the birth chart. Okay, so if the planets are the main characters, the zodiac signs would be the costumes that they wear, the moods that they're in, the motivations they have. It's the way those characters express themselves. So we'll break down all 12 zodiac signs in a beginner-friendly way so that way astrology can start to feel easy to understand. But before we do that, there are a couple concepts that we need to understand. The first one is the concept of elements. The second one will be the concept of modalities. And the third one will be the concept of rulership. And you're going to see how we put all that together to really understand what does Aries mean? What does Cancer mean? So I see the zodiac signs kind of like these 12 archetypes that mirror something to the collective that is in all of our consciousness. It's in every single one of our consciousness. We all have Aries energy in us, and we could be fiery and bold. We all have Scorpio energy in us, and we could be like more strategic and sneaky. Or we all have Cancer energy in us, right? And we could be all nurturing kind. We all have that collective consciousness somewhere in us, and these zodiac signs mirror that to us. And it shows what parts of the consciousness do we outwardly mirror to the collective, right? If you have moon in Scorpio, you mirror something to the collective. When you pop up, people maybe feel an intensity around you. They can feel intimidated around you because you're showing something to them that's inside of them that maybe they're not ready to see. But that same thing goes for being a sun in Pisces, a Mercury in Aries. Something about your energy is in all of us, but you are a physical manifestation of it, and you mirror something to the rest of us, and you teach something to the rest of us. And so as you go through these zodiac signs, kind of think about, well, what about, what placement do you have, right? You've already learned about the planets and what they mean. Think about what placements you have in that zodiac sign as we go through this lesson. Like if we are going through Aries, do you have any planets in Aries? Check your chart. Check your chart and pay attention to those planets, pay attention to the zodiac signs, start to put things together. When we go through Cancer, do you have any planets in Cancer? Start to put those things together and ask yourself, what am I mirroring? What do I teach the collective? And then be unapologetic about it. Be unapologetic about it. Because one thing I love about astrology, when we start learning our charts, is we start to know what energy, God gave us, the universe gave us, and we don't need to be sorry for that. But of course, that does not mean don't do your shadow work and be the worst manifestation possible of this energy. No, of course, you should always strive to be, the best, most healthiest version of yourself and manifestation of this energy as possible. Because that's the thing about astrology. You still have free will, and it's in your hands how you play and use the energy. The energy is there. We can't do anything about that. It's there. But how you use and play with it is entirely up to you. That's your free will. And that's where karma comes in. Let's start learning about the elements. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. You've probably heard, oh, I'm a water sign, I'm a fire sign, I'm an air sign, I am an earth sign. But let's understand, what does that truly mean? What does it really mean to be a water sign, to be a fire sign, earth sign, air sign? Well, the elements describe the core energy behind each zodiac sign. The elements show how that sign is processing, reacting, and experiencing life. See, life can be split into 4 different realms: the mental realm, the emotional realm, the spiritual realm, and the physical realm. Those are 4 different places where we manifest and where we exist. And we can describe those realms by through the metaphor of the elements. See, the fire signs. This is the spiritual realm. This is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Fire sign energy is about passion, instinct, creativity, desire, movement. They want to feel alive. They want to express. They need to feel motivated. They want to be in situations where they have to be courageous. Okay? This is about inspiration. This is about being yourself authentically. And on the shadow side, this energy can be reactive, impatient, reckless, self-centered. Next, we have the earth signs. These are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Earth signs are grounded in reality. They care about stability, practicality, consistency. They are about the physical realms, the physical world, the world that we can touch. They focus on what we can build, sustain, organize, improve. They are here so that way all that fiery spirit, all the emotions we have, all the thoughts we can make it tangible. We can make it real. That's earth side energy. They are hardworking, they're patient, they're reliable, and intentional. On a shadow side, they can be rigid, controlling, pessimistic, stubborn, disconnected from emotions, all work, no play kind of energy. We also have the air signs. This is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And they are about the mental realms, okay? They are about thoughts, ideas, communication, observation, perception, connection, how we process life on that mental level. They deal with social settings, intellectual settings. Air signs are curious, analytical, imaginative. On the shadow side, they could be inconsistent, avoidant, overly analytical, disconnected, maybe from the body, from the emotions, kind of focusing more on logic. And remember, everyone's got air somewhere in their chart. Everyone's got fire and water and earth somewhere in their chart. You're more than just your sun sign or your moon sign. You are everything. And that's what makes every single birth chart so complicated and intricate and beautiful and unique and one of a kind is that there's just endless combinations. Anyway, lastly, we have the water signs. This is Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Water energy is the emotional realms. So this is about intuition and energy and reading people's feelings, sensitivity. It's about healing, memory, the emotional undercurrents going on in the environment. Water energy is very sensitive and psychic when it comes to that. Very empathetic and intuitive and intelligent on an emotional, more spiritual level. At in a shadow side, from a shadow. In shadow, water energy can become overwhelming. We can be drowning in our emotions, right? We can be very reactive and fearful and consumed by the emotions, consumed by the past. Water energy, you need to learn to come up for air. Okay. So these are the four different elements of the zodiac. So four different realms that we exist in, that we manifest in the spiritual realm, mental realm, emotional realm, and physical realm. Start to pay attention into your real life and determine like is somebody in more of like that fire energy right now? Are they more in that earth energy, more chill, relaxed, grounded? Are they more airy, kind of moving around, really witty, really curious? Try to pay attention to that. So there are three modalities in astrology, and modality is really simple. They describe how the energy is moving. So this shows how a sign is taking action, how they respond to life, the natural like rhythm and momentum of the sign. And there are three different modalities. We have cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Let's start with the cardinal signs. This is Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. These are the initiators of the zodiac. They mark the seasons. Okay, Aries in the spring, Cancer in the summer, Libra in the fall, Capricorn season in winter. And they like to begin things. They create movement. Cardinal energy takes charge and it pushes energy forward. These signs are action oriented, leadership driven, motivated by growth and change. This is the energy that says, let's do it. Let's start something. And they're visionaries, curious, proactive. They're motivating. On the shadow side, they could be impatient and reactive and constantly starting things that they don't finish. So next we have the fixed signs. These are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They are the stabilizers of the zodiac. They sustain and maintain momentum. Once those cardinal signs get things going, the fixed signs keep things going, okay? And they will help things last over time. They're loyal, they're determined, they're focused, they're resistant, they're resilient to change. Fixed sign energy says, I can hold it together, I can maintain this. They're dependable, committed, grounded, resilient. Now, on the shadow side, they can be a little stubborn, rigid, possessive, controlling, resistant to growth and change. Now, the third modality are the mutable signs. This is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. These are the adapters of the zodiac. If cardinal says I'm going to start it, fixed sign says I'm going to keep it going, mutable sign energy says, I'm going to change it. I'm going to improve it. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to refine it. Okay, the healthy energy shift, evolve, transition, and transform. They're flexible, they're curious, changeable. They are about learning and teaching and evolution. Mutable energy says, let's adapt it. Let's make it better. So they're innovative, they're open-minded, they're versatile. But on a shadow side, they can be a little inconsistent, overwhelmed, scattered, avoidant, sometimes struggle with direction. Okay, so these modalities help explain why signs within the same element can feel so different. For example, Aries is a fire sign, but it's cardinal, so it initiates the fire. Leo is a fire sign, but it's fixed, so it sustains that fire. Sagittarius is a fire sign, but it's mutable. So it'll expand, explore, change that fire. You see how they all have the same element, but each of the sign is like moving a little differently. But they're all dealing with that fire element. They're all dealing with the spiritual realms. Okay, so let's get into rulership now in astrology. Rulership is a system of natural relationships and affinities between planet signs and houses in astrology. So every planet has a certain sign that it's naturally going to resonate with because they share similar archetypal themes and motivations and energetic qualities, but they have different functions. And we learn that in lesson one. The functions, the difference between the functions and the zodiac signs and the planets and the houses. So, when astrologers say a planet rules a sign, it does not mean that planet dominates or controls that sign. A better way to understand it is that this planet has a natural affinity. They share the same symbolic energy and language. They're compatible. So, for example, Mars and Aries, they both relate to action, instinct, courage, survival, assertion, movement. And because they share similar nature, well, now Mars has this rulership, or Mars has an affinity with the sign of Aries. So, why does rulership exist? Well, it's part of organizing the structure in astrology. It helps astrologers to understand how different planets connect, where energy flows in the chart, reoccurring themes, patterns, how archetypes sort of relate to one another. Without rulership, the chart would feel a little disconnected. The rulership really comes in and connects everything. And so rulership creates a deeper symbolic web between the planets, the signs, the houses, and the psychological themes and experiences happening there. It helps astrology function in a more interconnected way rather than like isolated meanings. And rulership also allows one placement to speak to another placement. For example, you have Taurus on the 10th house. That's going to be ruled by Venus. And let's say Venus is in your 7th house. Well, then that would connect your 10th house to the 7th house by rulership. Your career themes would then be connected to your relationships, to collaboration, beauty, art, social visibility, partnership dynamics. The ruler is a bridge, sort of carrying information from one area of the chart to another. And you've probably heard the term chart ruler before. That is an important rulership in the chart. And the chart ruler is a planet that is connected to your ascendant, to your rising sign. So this planet shows like core life themes, identity development, how you move through life, how are you expressing yourself outwardly. The chart ruler is a major thread sort of running through the birth chart. And it becomes very visible too. That energy is very visible in someone's outer life and personal growth. All right, so let's start to put everything together and get into the energy of each zodiac sign. Of course, starting off with Aries. So for Aries, you can see we have the symbol of the ram that comes through. And I think it represents like this raw life force sort of pushing forward into existence. That's Aries energy. And then the little like glyph here, this like curved line sort of rising upward, I think symbolizes that initiation, that instinct, that emergence. Okay, because Aries is the first of the zodiac. And not only is it the first of the zodiac sign, but it is a cardinal sign, the first of the cardinal signs. Remember, they are the initiators, right? And it's also a fire sign. So this is a very like spiritual sign. Aries is about I am. It's about identity, your desire, the courage to start something, birth something. There is no hesitation with Aries energy. It likes to move. It likes to spark life. It likes to climb mountains, right? We have that symbol of the ram. Even if the terrain is difficult, that ram is getting up to the top. That's Aries energy. That's that fiery Aries energy. And it has a natural relationship to challenge, competition, and growth, and courage, leadership, independence, survival instincts, assertiveness, passion, confidence. Aries would rather try, fail, learn, and keep it moving than stay stuck or stay in indecision. Aries energy asks you, what do you want? Like, what do you want to fight for? What happens when you trust yourself? What would you do if fear wasn't getting in your way? And at its core, Aries energy teaches us self-trust. And it reminds us that sometimes growth happens because we are brave enough to just start even before we fully feel ready. Okay, so now we have Taurus. So Taurus represents the bull, and then you see it has its glyph right here. It's like a circle with some horns on top. Now this circle will represent consciousness, spirit, inner self, and diving into that inner self, while the horns represent the connection to the physical world, material reality, and the senses. And unlike the ram, that's Aries energy. This bull is about slow and steady and grazing and stability. It's about rooting your energy down into something stable. It's about security, embodiment, self-worth, building something slowly over time. Okay, the bull represents strength, endurance, patience, and sensuality. It moves intentionally. But if the bull is provoked, right, the force is undeniable. Taurus energy says, I exist. Okay, cool. So how do I survive? How do I maintain myself? How do I feel secure, right? This is a fixed sign. So this is about maintaining. This is also an earth sign. So it's about the physical plane. We're maintaining the physical plane here. Its planetary ruler is Venus. Its opposite sign, sister sign, is Scorpio. I don't know if I mentioned that for Aries, but the planetary ruler is Mars and the opposite sign or sister sign is Libra. I'm sure I put that on the screen in the notes somewhere though. But at its core, Taurus teaches us to build a life that actually feels safe enough to enjoy, a life that is secure enough to graze, and the house where that Taurus rules, the planets there can kind of show how you do that. All right, so next we have a Gemini. We have the symbol of the twins, and then we kind of have this glyph that's like two lines and like two lines on top. So that glyph is going to represent that Roman numeral 2, representing the twins, duality, mirrored perception, multiple perspectives existing simultaneously at once. Those vertical pillars will symbolize connection between different worlds, the logic and the intuition, the inner reality, the outer reality, the self and the other. Okay, Gemini energy is constantly observing and processing, comparing, questioning, and translating that information. And then we have the symbol of the twins. Okay, this is duality, multiplicity, that we could be more than one way. We are multi-layered people. We are contradictory, people as humans, as a species. We are contradictory. But it also is about communicating and curiosity, learning language, information, adaptability, social connection. After Taurus builds its ability, Gemini comes in and says, "Okay, well, let's explore the world. Like, what can I ask? What can I learn? What is outside of my current perspective?" Gemini energy wants that movement, that stimulation, that conversation. Okay, it's mutable, right? So it's changing things up, it's experimenting things, and it's air energy, so it's doing that in the mental realms. At the end of the day, Gemini teaches us adaptability and intelligence and storytelling, and to see that there are multiple truths, multiple perspectives, multiple realities at once. And the opposite sign of Gemini is Sagittarius. Planetary ruler is going to be Mercury. Next, we have Cancer. So you can see the symbol's a crab, and then the glyph is kind of like this nine and like a six, kind of like yin and yang energy. Glyph, the glyph kind of resembles crab claws to me. It could also represent like the womb and like the umbilical cord. That's another way people see it. The spiral shapes can represent like our emotional memory, the cyclical nature of our feelings. The crab represents having that soft interior but protecting it with a hard shell. And this reflects Cancer's emotional nature and then wanting to protect its emotional nature. Cancer energy is very sensitive, protective, intelligent. It's about self-preservation and feeling home, family, taking care of yourself and your emotional needs. Cancer energy teaches us to nurture ourselves and others without abandoning our own truth. It's a cardinal sign. So this is about starting things up, and it is a water sign. So this is dealing with the emotional realms. How do our emotional realms start and fire up our new beginnings, right? That's Cancer energy. Its opposite sign is going to be Capricorn, and its ruler is going to be the moon. Now we have the sign of Leo. So the glyph actually represents creative life force energy. We could probably see what it looks like. Anyway, creative life force energy, vitality, confidence, self-expression. That looping motion represents flowing outward energy, flowing outward from the self. Because I think that is a beautiful way to understand Leo energy. It is that point where we've now gone through Cancer and we've explored our inner world. Leo's like, let me express that inner world. Let me take what's inside and put it on the outside. And we have the animal symbol of the lion. The lion symbolizes pride, courage, visibility, leadership, royalty, and loyalty. Leo energy is very connected to recognition and joy, performance, authenticity, confidence, the inner child. And on a shadow side, it could be about arrogance, ego, validation seeking, drama, attention dependency. But I think at the end of the day, Leo asks the question, what happens when I put myself out there? Like, what happens when I allow myself to fully be seen and I'm unapologetic for it? This sign teaches confidence, creativity, generosity, and living from the heart. That's what we learn from Leo. How do we trust and follow and listen to our heart? Our heart is sort of like this inner GPS. The mind is supposed to be the passenger. The heart is the driver. It's an inner GPS. It knows what to open up to, and it knows where to go. And when we close our heart off, we close off that inner GPS too. And I think Leo energy connects us to this heart space. And it connects us through this heart space, and it connects us to the heart space through play and through the childlike nature. Now, Leo energy is a fixed sign, so it's about containing something. And what is it containing? Fire. It's about containing your spirit. That's Leo energy. Its opposite sign is going to be Aquarius, and its planetary ruler is the sun. And what did we learn from lesson one? The sun is technically an illuminary. Okay, so next we have Virgo. So Virgo energy is symbolized by the Virgin, and then you kind of have this glyph that looks kind of like the Scorpio symbol with like a little extra tail without the spiky tail. You know, it kind of looks like the Scorpio symbol though. Now this glyph resembles, it kind of looks like an M, and it symbolizes discernment, containment, sacred service, refinement. Like this is a very refined, beautiful glyph, very like satisfying to look at. Now in Virgo energy, we also have the symbol of the maiden. This represents healing, discernment, represents purity. And you know, the word purity is an interesting word because I think a lot of people like misunderstand it. But what it means is just something in its most like natural form. Virgo is an earth sign, so this is something in its most natural or organic form, and how that in itself, with all of its imperfections, is perfect enough. That's the way nature made it. So it's kind of like what the symbol of the maiden can be connected to. The symbol of the maiden has many myths and interpretations behind it. So I would look into that on your own time to further explore that Virgo energy. Now, this energy on a shadow side can represent perfectionism, anxiety, hypercriticism, overworking, self-judgment. Virgo can kind of like judge itself harshly and judge the world harshly too, and then live in that weird like paradigm and sort of get stuck in that paradigm where I'm judging everyone harshly and now everything is judging me harshly back because like what the energy you put out is the energy you're going to get back, right? So Virgo does have to learn to come out of that paradigm. But at the end of the day, Virgo just wants to ask, how can we improve something? How can we grow something? How can we build a system, a routine, a skill? How can we solve the problem? Virgo teaches us that growth happens through small, consistent acts. All right, so next we have Libra. The Libra glyph is kind of symbolized by this line and another like line on top, kind of looking like the horizon, looks like the sunset to me. It's also represented by a balanced scale. So that scale is going to symbolize harmony, equilibrium, and relational awareness of like what's going on the other side of the scale. And Libra energy seeks balance between self and others. It wants fairness and partnership, justice, wants things to be reciprocal. And that glyph kind of like it looks like it's setting over the horizon. It kind of gives an energy of peace, right? Libra wants peace and um wants to be elevated through the dynamics it makes, the relationships it has, the aesthetics it puts on. Libra energy asks, how do I exist alongside others without losing myself, without taking myself out of balance, out of my own equilibrium? All right, so let's get into the next sign, Scorpio. Okay, so Scorpio, you can see it has a very similar glyph to Virgo, except we have like a little tail, spiky tail at the end. Very matchy-matchy to the animal symbol, which is the scorpion, who also has a spiky tail at the end. And that stinger at the end of the tail symbolizes intensity. It symbolizes defense. It is a Mars ruled sign. It symbolizes transformation, rebirth, and a hidden power, right? It's like the small but mighty power you have at the back of your pocket. And that upward tail also represents penetration, right? Energy that can go beyond the surface, that can go through your skin and get into you. Scorpio energy can do that. It can penetrate through your barriers and um get to like the heart of the matter, or it sees you what's going on inside versus a mask that you put on. It has like a hidden lie detector almost built in. Now, the actual scorpion symbol itself represents survival. These creatures can survive in really intense situations. It represents protection, instinct, and transformation. I believe that scorpions shed as well. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. Double check about that. But Scorpio energy is connected to just reptiles in general and the energy of shedding your skin. That's why it's very much connected to the archetype of the snake and the motifs and themes of the snake. It's very psychological, intuitive, investigative. On a shadow side, it could lead, on the shadow side, this energy is about control, obsession, jealousy, manipulation, emotional extremes. But what Scorpio is trying to ask us, what it provokes to the collective, is what truth exists beneath the surface? What is underneath the surface? What happens when we go beyond the barrier? And the sign is connected to intimacy, power, rebirth, trauma, vulnerability, emotional merging. It teaches us that healing requires confronting what is uncomfortable and what we fear the most. Okay, so next we have Sagittarius. So we have the symbol of it's like this half horse, half man creature. And then the glyph is kind of like this arrow with a point, and it's going upward. And that glyph represents expansion, seeking, direction, and aspiration, and consciousness going beyond its limits. And the symbol of this archer, half horse, half man creature symbolizes exploration, philosophy, adventure, freedom, vision, being fast moving. This is mutable fire. So it's this we're in the fire energy, so we're in spirit energy, and this is mutable. So it's changeable, it's tweaking things, it's exploring things, it's expanding, it's playing with it. So this is about playing with your own fire, playing with the fires of life. It takes an adventurer to do that. And Sagittarius energy seeks that freedom, that meaning, that higher understanding. And if it doesn't have that, it can become very restless, avoidant, reckless. There could be commitment issues. But what Sagittarius is asking is what is possible? How far can we really take it, right? Let's go. It's very fearless. This sign teaches us optimism, faith, growth, courage, and to keep going beyond your limits, keep pushing the boundary. Okay, so next we have Capricorn energy. Oh, and I forgot if to mention, but the opposite sign of Sagittarius is Gemini, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars, in traditional astrology. But in modern astrology, and since Pluto was discovered, Scorpio is also connected to Pluto. And Libra, opposite sign is Aries, ruled by Venus. Just realized I might have forgotten a couple of those things. So in Capricorn, we have this sea creature here, half fish, half land, which is funny, another half and half creature. We had that in Sagittarius as well. And then the glyph is kind of like this N, and it's a little loop at the end. Now, the glyph represents the sea goat. It's supposed to be a similar, you know, I guess, shape to the sea goat. Um, and it's about, and this part mountain, part sea creature symbolizes both the mastery of the emotional realms and the material realms, which you need for long-term growth and earned discipline. This energy is about carrying the emotional depth beneath the surface and still climbing that mountain anyway. We could have all of this heaviness going on, but we're still going to get to the top. That's that lesson of Capricorn energy. It's about ambition, discipline, resilience, and being responsible. And on a shadow side, it is about emotional suppression, workaholism, rigidity, fear of failure. And but what Capricorn energy is trying to ask us is, well, what am I building for the future and what does it take to build it? And am I committed to that journey? It's trying to teach you mastery and long-term achievement and boundaries and sustained success. Its opposite sign is Cancer. Its Capricorn is going to be ruled by Saturn. So we have the symbol of the water bear here, and the glyph kind of looks like these little mountains to me. It kind of looks like a stack of mountains, or maybe like waves of energy, because Aquarius does represent electricity. And this glyph could symbolize innovation, collective consciousness, and kind of updating your thought, getting with the times, moving through networks and communities. Now, the symbol itself is the water bearer, and the water bearer pours its knowledge into humanity. Aquarius energy is a visionary, it's future focused, and it is the energy that pulls in downloads so we can do what's next, so we can see what the future is. That's why they're known as trendsetters. And on a shadow side, this energy could be connected to emotional detachment, rebellion without direction or purpose, isolation, contrarian behavior. But what Aquarius is trying to ask us is, how can we create a better future? How can we create a better future? This sign teaches liberation, individuality, social awareness, and breaking out of outdated systems. This is fixed air sign energy. Okay, fixed air sign energy. So it's about holding something, holding on to that thought. Okay, air, holding on to that idea, air. Even if everyone else around you thinks you're crazy. That's what the future bearer needs to be, though. They need to be able to hold on and present that future, even if it's getting like backlash for it. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology, but in modern astrology, it's also ruled by Uranus since that was discovered. Its opposite sign will be Leo. Okay, and lastly, we have Pisces. We have the image of the two fish here swimming. One's going one way, the other's kind of flowing the same way. And then we have the glyph of it almost looks like the two fish as well, kind of like mirroring each other. And it symbolizes duality between our fantasy worlds and our reality worlds, our spiritual worlds and our material existence. So you can see this like kind of like Capricorn, Sagittarius and Pisces energy kind of deal with these two different worlds, these two realities. So does Aquarius. It also deals with two different worlds, future and present, right? Anyway, the symbol of the fish is moving through emotional and spiritual waters. That's what it's flowing through. And the Pisces energy is very intuitive, imaginative, compassionate, mystic, deeply sensitive, right? This is mutable water energy. So this is changing and playing and adapting with the emotional realms. Now, on the shadow side, Pisces energy is about escapism, confusion, boundary issues. Capricorn energy is how far can we go in the material world, right? How far can we really take it? It's the highest point materially, physically here on this plane, on the earth plane. Aquarius energy is like, how far can we go mentally? What does the future look like? What are the next big ideas? Pisces is kind of like, how far can we go mystically? How divine is it out here? Those are the questions Pisces will ask. But what Pisces is trying to teach us at the end of the day is that compassion, that oneness with the world, how we're all connected, spiritual, being connected to the divine. Pisces energy teaches imagination. How far can the imagination go? Intuition and emotional interconnectedness. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Your homework today is just study the zodiac signs, get more familiar with them. I basically gave you the vocab where you could start exploring and watching other people's interpretations, and seeing, that's the best way to learn astrology. Is look at your own chart, look at your own zodiac signs, start putting the planets and the zodiac signs together. You have that information now. What does it mean to have a sun in Pisces? What does it mean to have your moon in Cancer? Start to put those two definitions together. That's your homework for the week. And next week on Sunday, we are going to go over the houses, and you're gonna kind of have like the big three puzzle pieces, and you'll start to like really put the chart together. Please comment down below where you're coming from. Are you coming from TikTok or Twitter? I'd love to know. Also, if you have any questions or if you need anything clarified, please leave that in the comments below. You never know if someone else has the same question, and I want to make sure that you guys like have a really good, strong foundational understanding, because eventually I would like to dive even deeper into all of this and get more nuanced. But for now, like, we gotta just get through the basics. But yeah, really excited, and I'll see you guys in next week's lesson.